Hello, so welcome to the next square of the 50 Stitches Crochet Along, and this week we're making the panel. So see, it's quite big. It covers all the length of all 7 squares, so it's going to go the length of your blanket. But you can put this anywhere you like, across the top, the bottom, down the side, through the middle, whichever you prefer. And the stitch we're using for this is, well, it's Mosaic crochet. We did a form of Mosaic crochet when we did Apache Tears, and this is done slightly differently. So it's made of this repeating pattern of this square here, and just goes through the repeats, and then we end on a half repeat down here. So if you look at the edge, you can get an idea of how it's made. But this is made in rows of alternating colours. So for this you need to choose 2 sets of colours. We've got the one we've got the outline for here, and the background colour. One of these can be several colours, but the second one has to be a solid, otherwise this pattern is not going to stand out and you're not going to see it very well. So we're going to alternate between each colour for each row. Okay, so colour A and colour B, and you alternate each row up. Okay, so I'm not going to show you the whole thing. I'm going to show you how the technique works. I'm going to make a small swatch so you can see how it's done. But for this we're going to use a 3.5mm hook, and your beginning row is 226 stitches, and that will take you the full length of the blanket. Okay, so how do we make it? Okay, so this is a Mosaic crochet chart. Mosaic crochet is done through charts rather than a written pattern, and you can see how your pattern will look once you've finished. The rules for Mosaic crochet are fairly simple, and once you get your head around them, you can crochet any chart at all. So your first and last rows give away how it's done. So you see these two, how we alternate between 2 colours. Every row is done with single crochet. This first and last row, you make your single crochets through both loops, but every other square in between is done in the back loop only, which leaves the front loop for your double crochets. Now you see in the squares I've got X's. In each of these X's you will see that the row below is coloured the same as the squares with the X's. Okay, and this is where you're going to do a double crochet in the front loop 2 rows below. Okay, so if we go to the sides, in a row we've got X's. This is the colour of your starting row. All your single crochets in that row will be made in this colour, all the way across. But when you get to the X's, you then make it in the front loops 2 rows below. And that means that this colour now will cover the single crochets you did in this row in your second colour. So it goes over the top. So this chart shows what your pattern will look like once all your double crochets are done. If we did this chart with what it looks like without those double crochets and just what you crochet in every stitch, you would just get stripes like this all the way across with X's instead. So these bottom rows, we start with this dark colour and we just single crochet all the way across. Same with the second row. You start with your second colour, whichever you decide that is, and double crochet, a single crochet in back loops only, all the way across. So your double crochets only start in row 4, and it's only these end ones. So in the light colour, you will then double crochet in the front loops 2 rows below, which covers your dark colour and comes down. So if I just bring back the panel, I'll show you how that turns out. So that is this stitch here. So that, where are we? Here. So we started with this row in the purple colour, then did a double crochet in the front loops 2 rows below, and it's covered the blue. So that is a double crochet across the top, and that's how it works. So you can see the double crochets here in the pink, and they cover the purple row, which you can see peeking out here in the middle, and it just goes over the top. So it's quite a thick stitch, as you can have double layers when it goes over the top of the single crochet, but that is how the whole pattern works. Single crochet in the back loops only, and then double crochet in the front loops to cover the squares that of the colours that you want to hide. And that is mosaic crochet. If I do this, you can see the bumps of the double crochets that are going over the single crochet rows. And see here, that is the single crochets poking through. You can see the front loops there that haven't been worked into. And you can do double crochets into double crochets as well. But again, you'll always use the front loops. And there's the single crochet row again that's not been worked into. Okay. It's a very simple technique, it's just getting your head around the rules of it. So you can see this is the end row. You always go into both loops on the start and end stitch, and then you can see how it works with the alternate colours. So after every row you cut off and rejoin back at the beginning again. So the row ends to weave in. You can see the back, and you get these little pockets where you've used the front loop only, not the back. So you can actually see the design a bit on the back as well. Okay, so that is the mosaic panel. If you have any questions, please do just ask in the Facebook group. Always happy to help there. Okay, and on this square, on this panel, there's no border. So you don't go around in single crochet and you don't add the braided edge. You leave this as it is, and I'm going to show you how to join it to the rest of your blanket in a different video. Okay, so I've started this swatch and I'm doing the repeat in between. So your repeat is 17 stitches in between these lines. But I also need to include these end pieces. So my swatch is 19 stitches wide, with a repeat of 17 stitches in between. So I've done the first 5 rows. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and I completed this one here. Now this is the first row, row 5, with the 2 double crochet. And you can see I've done those here at the end. So when you're doing a double crochet, you're working into the same colour 2 rows below in that front loop. So now I'm going to show you how we do row 6, which is this row here. And if you follow along to the sides, you can see row 6 is the colour, the clear squares, which is for me is blue. So I'm going to join my blue yarn into these side stitches and just join the chain 1, and in the same stitch I'm going to make a single crochet in both loops. So you always start and end every row with single crochet through both loops. So my first stitch of the pattern is a single crochet in the back loop, which is the back loop of that double crochet in the row below. Okay, and then the next stitch has an X in it, so that's a double crochet in the front row, and I'm going to make it in the front loops of the stitch 2 rows below. So when you're doing your double crochet, you'll make them into the same colour. So for me, all my double crochet in purple will go into the purple row 2 rows below, and if I'm doing blue, it'll go into the front loops of the blue stitch 2 rows below. So I just yarn over and go through that front loop like that, and just make a double crochet as normal. Okay, and don't worry, this will tighten up as we go. So now I need 5 single crochet in the back loop. So if there's no X's, then it means it's a single crochet, and unless we're doing the very first and last stitch of the row, then it's in the back loop. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. There we go. So now we do a double crochet. It's got an X in the square. So in the next stitch we go down 2 rows into that front loop and double crochet. And now single crochet in the back loop, and now a double crochet in the front loop. So you can see the pattern. So we go down a row, see, we can still see the purple here, and that's what's showing here. The purple doesn't show here in this square yet because we haven't made that double crochet in the row above. So that will have purple over the top once we do the next row. Okay, so now I need to do another 5 single crochet in the back loop. See, there's no X's, so if there's no X, that means single crochet in the back loop. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and then another double crochet. Two rows down. Then single crochet in the back loop. Okay, so that brings us to the end of our repeat, and that means my final stitch will be in both loops. And that's that row done. So once your row is complete, you cut off, and then you go back and start the next row at this end. So you can see that pattern starting to come through with these double crochets. And that's all there is to mosaic crochet. Just follow the graph, make all your stitches in single crochets in the back loop. If you've got an X, you go do a double crochet 2 rows below. And that is this middle repeat. So 1 square equals 1 stitch. These are your beginning and end pieces. And your total starting stitch count is 226 for your foundation chain. And there we go. So if you have any questions, please do come over to the Facebook group. And please do come and show us your finished panels. I absolutely love this technique. I think it's a brilliant way to create designs, and it's so easy to make your own patterns as well. As you can see, all you need is, squared paper, and you can make your own patterns. So happy hooking, and I shall see you next time for the next square. Bye for now.